Thank you, Uche. We begin the broadcast with security issues. The latest Global Terrorism Index shows that terror activities in 5 African countries rose sharply in 2017. According to the study, terrorism deaths decreased globally by 27%, but Africa remains heavily impacted by terrorism. Egypt and Somalia saw the largest increases in terrorism-related deaths. According to the report, the Middle East, North Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa were the most impacted by terrorism in 2017. For more on this, we're joined live by Daniel Branches in Washington. Daniel, what are the major highlights of this Global Terrorism Index, and how does Africa fit into that?
Yeah, this report really looks at 2017, the full numbers that they have access to, and they say that 18,814 people were killed in 2017 as a result of terrorism. There was marked improvement in 94 countries and a deterioration in about 46. So you're talking, as you said there, about a 27% decline in terrorism deaths globally. So it's not a terribly bad picture. And most of the improvements were in Iraq, and as a result of the most deadly terrorist group being somewhat undermined strategically on the battlefield in Iraq and Syria, the Islamic State movement, a 52% reduction in deaths from that individual group alone, and in Iraq 56% reduction in total terrorism deaths, from almost 10,000 down to 4,200 in 2017 compared with 2016. Now, Sub-Saharan Africa is slightly down by about 5%, but when you factor in the impact of a major increase in both Somalia and Egypt, it doesn't look incredibly good for Africa in terms of the overall trend, though I would say that Nigeria has been making strides in terms of tackling Boko Haram.
So, Daniel, what are some of the key areas of concern for Africa in this report?
Well, Somalia in particular has pretty bad numbers to start with. A 93% increase in terrorism-related deaths in 2017 compared with the previous year. So in raw numbers, that comes from around about 760 to almost 1,500 deaths in Somalia, as they really struggled to contain the threat of al-Shabaab posed, particularly in and around Mogadishu. And of course, we had an extreme one of, well, it was the biggest terrorist attack in 2017 in Somalia, that massive truck bombing, you may remember, that really pumped up those numbers. And also in Egypt, a very worrying trend in the Sinai Peninsula, with overall in that country 123% increase in deaths in Egypt to 655 deaths overall. As I say, those incidents were concentrated in the Sinai Peninsula, with the Islamic State offshoots there in particular, very concentrated. And as well, when you compare it with 2015, where there were similar numbers of deaths in Egypt, there were far more individual incidents, only 169 total incidents in Egypt compared with 539 in 2015, same number of deaths. That means each time the Islamic State strikes in Egypt, it becomes even more deadly. So there are some worrying signs, but also some positives, particularly when it comes to Nigeria and tackling Boko Haram, and also Fulani extremists, though the report indicates that the Fulani extremist threat is increasing this year.
All right, Daniel, thank you very much for that. Daniel Branches live in Washington.